She walked into a hotel with him, smiling, relaxed, completely unaware she would never walk out again. Hours later, security cameras would capture something chilling, 2 suitcases being wheeled out into the night. Inside one of them was the truth, and the man behind it thought he had gotten away with the perfect lie, until security cameras exposed everything.
This will be with us for the rest of our lives.
The city lights of Auckland flickered against the night sky as Grace Millane stepped out on December 1st, 2018. She was 21 years old, traveling alone, documenting every moment of her adventure. Just 11 days into New Zealand, she was doing what thousands of travelers do, meeting new people, exploring new places, living freely. That night she had plans. A date with a man she had matched with online. It seemed harmless, normal, even exciting. She left her hostel just before 6 p.m., dressed elegantly, stepping into the energy of the city. The streets were alive, music, laughter, movement, and somewhere in that chaos, she met him. At first, everything looked ordinary. The two met at Sky City, surrounded by crowds, cameras, and bright lights. They talked, laughed, and shared drinks. Grace even messaged her friend, saying she clicked with him, that he seemed charming, safe. By all appearances, it was a good date. But the cameras never stopped watching. About an hour later, they moved to another bar, the Bluestone Room. Inside, something subtle but unsettling happened. At one point, when Grace stepped away, the man reached for her handbag. He opened it, searched through it. No hesitation, no permission, just curiosity or something darker. It was a small moment, easily missed, but in hindsight, it felt like a warning. By 9:30 p.m., the two left together, arm in arm, smiling, walking into the Auckland night. That was the last time Grace Millane was ever seen alive. The next day should have been filled with celebration. It was her 22nd birthday. Messages flooded in from family and friends. Calls, notifications, love from across the world. But there was no reply. Hours passed, then a full day, then another. Silence. For someone who had been constantly updating her loved ones, sharing photos, stories, and excitement, this sudden disappearance wasn't just unusual, it was alarming. By December 5th, her family contacted police. A missing person report was filed. Officers began retracing her steps, starting with the last known location, her hostel. But Grace had never returned that night. At first, police considered the possibility that she had simply stayed somewhere else, met new friends, lost track of time. It wasn't uncommon for travelers. But then they turned to the city's surveillance network, and everything changed. Auckland is covered in cameras. Streets, bars, hotels, almost every movement is recorded. Investigators began pulling footage from dozens of locations, stitching together Grace's final hours piece by piece. It didn't take long to identify the man she had been with. His name was Jesse Kempson. He had been the last person seen with her. Police brought him in for questioning. Calm, composed, cooperative. He told them the date had gone well, that nothing unusual had happened. According to him, they had parted ways around 10 p.m. A simple goodbye, plans to meet again. He claimed he messaged her the next day, but she had unmatched him. End of story. Except it wasn't, because the cameras told a completely different version. Footage from the City Life Hotel revealed something Jesse hadn't mentioned. After leaving the bar, the two hadn't separated at all. They had walked together, straight into the hotel where he was staying, side by side. They entered the elevator together, rode it up, stepped out onto his floor. Grace was never seen leaving. The timeline that Jesse had given the police was already collapsing. And what came next was even more disturbing. The morning after, on Grace's birthday, CCTV captured Jesse leaving the hotel alone. But instead of acting like someone who had just gone on a normal date, his movements raised immediate suspicion. He went shopping, not for groceries, not for clothes, for a suitcase. Shortly after, he purchased cleaning supplies. Then he rented a car, a red Toyota Corolla. His movements were methodical, controlled, almost rehearsed. Hours later, he met another woman for a Tinder date. While Grace was missing, he was already moving on. But this date didn't go the same way. The woman later reported that his behavior unsettled her deeply. He spoke about disturbing topics, burying bodies, connections to police. She refused to get into his car. She left. She never contacted him again. Meanwhile, Jesse continued his routine. He rented a carpet cleaning machine, claiming he needed to remove red wine stains. Later that night, cameras captured something that would become one of the most chilling moments in the entire case. He loaded 2 large suitcases onto a hotel trolley, slowly, calmly, then wheeled them out of the building, placed them into the trunk of his rental car, and drove off into the darkness. The next morning, more footage surfaced, Jesse purchasing a shovel. Hours later, he was seen cleaning the car thoroughly, washing away anything that might have been left behind. To an outsider, these might seem like unrelated errands, but together, they painted a horrifying picture. By December 8th, the pressure was mounting, the evidence was stacking up, and Jesse was brought in again. This time, his story changed completely. Now he claimed that Grace had died accidentally during consensual sex, that things had gone too far, that he had panicked, that he didn't know what to do. But even in this version, his actions didn't match his words. Because panic doesn't look like this. Panic doesn't involve buying cleaning supplies. Panic doesn't involve renting equipment to erase evidence. Panic doesn't involve going on another date hours later. And panic certainly doesn't involve calmly transporting a body in a suitcase.
She started talking to me about 50 Shades of Grey, which is a sex fantasy movie that's out. And then she asked me if we could get into bondage. She told me to hold her arms tighter, and then she told me to hold her throat.
Forensic teams searched his hotel room. Despite his attempts to clean it, they found the truth. Blood everywhere. Not a small amount. Not something that could be explained away. The kind of evidence that tells a very clear story. Investigators were then led to a remote area near the Waitakere Ranges, a quiet location, isolated, hidden from view. There, just meters from the road, they found her, Grace Millane's body. The search was over, but the real story was just beginning. The discovery sent shockwaves across New Zealand. What began as a missing person case had now become something far darker, something that gripped an entire nation. Even the country's leadership responded. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern stood before the world and delivered a message that would echo far beyond this case. She apologized directly to Grace's family, saying their daughter should have been safe in New Zealand and that she was deeply sorry that she wasn't.
Firstly, I cannot imagine the grief of her family and what they will be experiencing and feeling right now. From the Kiwis I have spoken to, there is this overwhelming sense of hurt and shame that this has happened in our country. On behalf of New Zealand, I want to apologise to Grace's family. Your daughter should have been safe here, and she wasn't, and I'm sorry for that.
It was a rare moment when a country acknowledged not just a crime, but a failure. An autopsy would later confirm what investigators already suspected. Grace had been strangled, not instantly, not accidentally. It took minutes, sustained pressure, time in which she would have fought, struggled, realized what was happening. This wasn't a moment of panic. This was deliberate. And while her life had ended in that hotel room, Jesse's actions afterward revealed something even darker. In the hours following her death, he searched the internet, locations, disturbing topics. He viewed explicit content. He even took photographs of her body, not the behavior of someone in shock, but of someone detached, calculating. The trial began months later. Jesse's defense argued that it had all been an accident, that Grace had consented to dangerous activity. Those things had simply gone wrong. But the prosecution had something stronger. Evidence. CCTV footage. A digital trail that couldn't lie. They showed the jury everything. The timeline. The purchases. The movements. The lies. They demonstrated how long it would have taken to cause her death. How much force. How much time. And most importantly, how he behaved afterward. Not like a man who made a mistake, but like someone trying to erase one. After just 5 hours of deliberation, the verdict came back. Guilty. Jesse Kempson was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 17 years. But even that didn't close the story. Because after his conviction, more victims came forward. Women who recognized him, who had experienced his violence before. Their testimonies revealed a pattern: control, manipulation, aggression. This wasn't an isolated incident. It was escalation. And Grace had become the victim who exposed it. Her case sparked outrage across the world, not just because of what happened, but how it was defended. The idea that her death could be explained away, that blame could somehow shift onto her. People rejected that narrative. They focused on what mattered: the truth. A young woman went on a date. She trusted the wrong person. And the cameras, silent, ever present, captured the reality he tried to hide. Every step, every lie, every attempt to cover it up. In the end, it wasn't his words that convicted him. It was what the cameras saw, and what they revealed ensured he would never walk free again.